Humanity's ruthless payback shocked the entire Galactic Council. They never saw it coming. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council glowed with soft blue light from floating crystal panels. Ancient Vorseth elders sat in rows like statues carved from living gemstone. Their faceted eyes reflected every movement around them. Illyrian delegates hovered in translucent bubbles, minds linked in silent conversation, while hulking Krenthar warriors stood armored in black scales claws, tapping impatiently on the polished floor. Humanity had been allowed into this place. Only 20 years earlier, everyone called them newcomers, primitives from a wet, rocky world, called Earth short-lived, quick tempers, always talking too loud, always asking for more. Ambassador Alina Voss stood at the center podium, small compared to the others, her dark uniform crisp, her face calm. She had come to speak about the nebula called Kael'thar Vale. Rich with rare minerals, humans had built 3 quiet colonies. Their families lived in domed habitats, children played in artificial parks, freighters carried ore back to Sol. Nothing aggressive, just steady work. Then one morning Krenthar warships appeared without warning. They fired particle beams that tore through civilian shields. Habitats cracked, open air rushed out, people died in silence. The council called it a policing action, said humans had no right to settle there, said the colonies were unlicensed. Voss raised her hand, the chamber quieted. She spoke clearly, every word recorded for the archives. We have proof the attack targeted family quarters, first medical bays, nurseries, schools, not military outposts. This was deliberate murder of civilians. She showed holographic images, twisted metal floating bodies, small shoes drifting in vacuum. The council delegates watched, some looked away, others leaned forward, curious. An elder Vorseth named Thaler rose slowly, his crystal body chimed softly with each step. He spoke in a voice like breaking glass. Humans are young, your species barely crawled from your oceans. While we map the stars for eons, you claim injury. Yet you push into spaces long claimed by others. This action was necessary to maintain order. Your people should feel fortunate. We allowed you membership at all. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Illyrians' minds sent waves of amusement. Krenthar rumbled deep chuckles. Even smaller species joined in. Voss did not flinch. She continued, the death toll stands at 12,417. We demand restitution, territory returned, and formal apology. The laughter grew louder. Thaler tilted his head. Humans demand from us. You forget your place, your fleets are small, your technology lags, your lives flicker and fade. We have watched empires rise and fall for longer than your sun has burned. Sit down, child, and learn patience. Another delegate, an Illyrian named Lurel, projected her thoughts directly into every mind, amusement mixed with pity. The primitive mind seeks vengeance, but lacks the means. Humans rage like storms on their water world, impressive, yet fleeting. We suggest restraint, ambassador, lest you embarrass your species further. More laughter echoed. Voss felt the weight of thousands of eyes, some mocking, some bored, some faintly curious. She took a slow breath, then spoke again. You mistake restraint for weakness, you mistake patience for surrender. You will learn the difference. She turned to leave. Guards stepped forward, metallic limbs gleaming. They escorted her toward the exit. Delegates called out taunts. Vermin, go back to your mud ball transients. Enjoy your scraps. The chamber doors opened. Voss paused at the threshold. She looked back at the sea of faces and said one quiet sentence, you have made a calculation error. The words hung in the air for a moment, then vanished under fresh waves of laughter. The doors closed behind her. The council moved to other matters, trade disputes, border adjustments, routine votes. No one thought much about the small human woman or her final words. They assumed she would return with protests, petitions, perhaps a few angry speeches, then fade away like so many young species before her. Outside in the orbital station corridors, Voss walked alone, her escort trailing at a distance. She passed windows showing the endless black of space, dotted with distant stars. One of those stars was Sol, tiny from here, yet it held everything. She loved her family, her people, her history. She clenched her fist, then relaxed it. She had not come to beg, she had come to warn them. They had not listened. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Holoscreens in every city showed the chamber footage. People watched in living rooms, factories, parks, crowds Gathered silent anger grew not wild shouting, but cold focused fury. Leaders met in underground bunkers, military officers, reviewed old plans, scientists, opened sealed archives. The contingency zero folder labeled for existential threats only had waited decades for this moment. Now it opened. Across human space, shipyards hummed, factories sped up, research labs burned, bright sleeper agents on distant worlds received quiet signals they had lived among aliens for years. As traders, teachers, engineers, friends, now they waited. Each carried small devices hidden in plain sight, tools that would one day change everything. The council continued its sessions, unaware. Trade flowed normally. Human freighters paid docking fees, departed without fuss. Diplomats smiled politely. No one noticed the subtle shifts. No one saw the quiet preparations. The galaxy assumed humanity would protest then, accept defeat they assumed wrong. Months passed. The council grew comfortable again. They taxed human trade, seized outer colonies, reassigned mining rights to Krenthar corporations. Vorseth elders filed reports on the successful correction of a minor disturbance. Illyrians shared dreams of harmony. Restored, everything seemed settled. Then the silence began. Earth stopped sending diplomats, stopped filing complaints, stopped appearing at trade summits. Human ships arrived, unloaded cargo, left no extra words, no arguments, just cold efficiency. The council noticed, but dismissed it. They thought humans had learned their place, sulking quietly in defeat. They did not know that in hidden shipyards beyond Sol, new hulls took shape, sleek black vessels designed for one purpose. They did not know that factories printed drones by the millions, self-replicating machines hungry for raw material. They did not know that scientists had perfected weapons never shared with outsiders, weapons born from humanity's long history of survival. Ambassador Voss now worked from a secure bunker beneath the lunar surface. She reviewed reports, coordinated agents, studied alien weaknesses. Her face looked older, lines deeper. Yet her eyes burned brighter. She remembered the laughter in the chamber. She remembered the bodies in the nebula. She remembered every mocking word. The galaxy waited for humans to break. Instead, humans waited for the perfect moment. They prepared, they planned, they sharpened every edge. When the time came, they would strike not in rage, but in precision, cold, complete, unstoppable. The council laughed. Once they would never laugh again. The stage was set. The pieces moved silently into place. Humanity prepared its answer, an answer written in steel code fire. And memory, an answer the galaxy would never forget. The reckoning waited just beyond sight, patient, quiet, inevitable. After Ambassador Voss left the chamber, the galaxy kept spinning, as if nothing important had happened. Trade ships moved, cargo fleets patrolled borders, diplomats met in quiet rooms. The council congratulated itself on handling the human problem with minimal effort. They had taken the nebula colonies, imposed heavy taxes, removed Earth's voting seat. Everything seemed clean. And final, the big species returned to their ancient routines. Vorseth elders meditated in crystal halls. Illyrians swam through shared dreamscapes. Krenthar warriors trained in vast arenas. No one worried about the small, angry species from the edge of known space. For 6 full months, Earth stayed completely silent. No angry messages, no protest fleets, no demands for talks. Human ambassadors stopped attending meetings. Human traders paid fees, unloaded goods, departed without extra words. The council noticed the change. Some delegates even joked about it. Perhaps the primitives finally learned respect. Maybe they broke under the weight of reality. Laughter echoed again in private chambers. They thought the lesson stuck. Behind that silent, Sol system turned into a machine of quiet fury. Every shipyard from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt ran without pause. Lights burned all night. Workers moved in perfect shifts. Robots welded hulls. Printers built parts faster than eyes could follow. New factories appeared in hidden craters. Underground tunnels connected research labs to assembly lines. Everything happened out of sight. No broadcasts, no leaks, just steady, relentless work. The United Terran Directorate activated Contingency Zero, an old plan written after humanity's last great wars on Earth. It had Aided decades locked in vaults, now folders, open screens, lit up officers, read directives, scientists, unlocked sealed data, military leaders gathered in bunkers deep beneath mountains. They reviewed every mistake, every betrayal, every time someone underestimated humans. They made lists of weaknesses in every council, species, biology, psychology, economy, infrastructure. Nothing escaped notice. Shipyards produced sleek black vessels, no bright colors, no markings, just smooth, deadly shapes. Engines tested in deep space, silent and fast. Drones swarmed from hidden bays, small at first. Then larger self-replicating machines that ate asteroids, turned rock into more machines. Weapons labs perfected old forbidden designs. Cascade singularity generators that could collapse matter into nothing. Von Neumann swarms programmed to dismantle anything not marked human. Engineered viruses that only attacked specific alien proteins. Psi dampeners built from stolen Illyrian tech, adapted to block minds instead of reading them. Human sleeper agents lived on council worlds for years. They arrived as young students, traders, cultural attaches. Engineers, teachers, merchants. They learned languages, customs, friendships. They built trust slowly, carefully. Now quiet signals reached them, small devices, hidden in walls, jewelry, tools. Everyday objects waited for the word. Each agent knew their role. Some would cut power, some would poison water, some would crash networks, some would simply watch and report. All waited patiently. Ambassador Voss worked from a lunar bunker buried under meters of regolith screens. Covered every wall, data flowed constantly, reports from agents, fleet positions, research breakthroughs, supply logs. She looked older now, lines carved deeper around her eyes. Yet she moved with calm purpose. She remembered every laugh, every insult, every dead child in the nebula. She turned anger into focus, rage became strategy. She met with generals, scientists, spies. Everyday plans grew sharper, details locked into place. Timelines set, no room for error. Across human space, people felt the change. Factories hired more workers, schools taught advanced tactics, universities ran war simulations. Children learned history, not just pride, but warnings about what happens when trust breaks. Families talked quietly over dinner about duty, about survival. Anger simmered, but discipline held. Everyone understood this was not about revenge alone. This was about making sure no one ever tried it again. On alien worlds, the sleepers blended perfectly. A human engineer fixed Krenthar reactors, smiled politely, chatted about family. Another taught Vorseth, young ones, basic math, shared stories of Earth festivals. An Illyrian dream guide listened to minds, offered calm advice. All carried small tools, micro-explosives, data worms, neuro-agents hidden in plain sight. They waited for the signal that would turn years of patience into action. The council grew lazy. They reduced patrols in human border zones, cut surveillance on Sol trade, increased slightly. Humans paid taxes on time, no complaints. Came delegates, assumed submission. Complete, some even suggested easing restrictions slightly to keep the cheap labor flowing. Vorseth elders filed reports, calling the human matter. Resolved Illyrians dreamed of lasting peace. Krenthar sharpened blades for other threats. No one looked closely at the quiet, no one questioned the lack of noise. Earth's outer colonies rebuilt slowly. New domes rose, stronger shields, thicker walls. Families moved back, cautious but determined. Miners dug deeper, scientists scanned for new resources. Everything looked normal on the surface. Yet every ship carried extra sensors, every freighter hid compartments, every station upgraded defenses. Quietly, the council saw trade continue, and relaxed further. They thought humans accepted their place. Voss reviewed the final readiness report. Fleets stood ready, drones numbered in billions, weapons tested, agents confirmed positions. She sat alone for a long moment, staring at a hollow map of council space. Green lights marked targets, red lines showed attack paths, blue circles showed fallback zones. She touched the screen gently, then stood up. Her voice stayed low. When she spoke to her staff, we gave them every chance. They chose laughter. Now they get silence, then truth. The galaxy floated in false calm. Council sessions discussed minor issues, trade deals, entertainment festivals. No one mentioned humans much anymore. The insult faded into old news. The nebula incident became a footnote, a quick lesson for newcomers. Everything seemed stable, peaceful, even boring. Then subtle signs appeared. If anyone had looked, a few human traders requested unusual cargo, manifests, medical supplies, rare minerals. Nothing alarming, just odd patterns, power fluctuations on distant outposts, minor glitches in financial network ships, vanishing briefly from sensors, then reappearing dismissed as errors. The council ignored them, routine maintenance. They said nothing to worry about. Inside Saul, the final preparations locked in place. Admirals gave quiet orders, captains ran last drills, scientists sealed last warheads, engineers tested final connections, sleepers received the standby signal. Hearts beat faster, but hands stayed steady. Humanity did not rush. They did not shout. They prepared with the patience of people who knew waiting could be a weapon. Voss stood in the command center, lunar gravity light on her face. She looked at the gathered officers, scientists, agents. Every face showed the same quiet resolve. She spoke once more. Soon, we answer, not with words, but with proof. Proof that underestimation has a price. Proof that humans keep score. Proof that when pushed to the edge, we push back harder. The silence stretched longer, deeper, more complete. The council congratulated itself again on a problem solved neatly. They never noticed the shadows growing longer around their worlds. They never felt the cold calculation behind human quiet. They never imagined what waited just out of sight. Humanity waited, perfect, patient, unstoppable. The galaxy thought it had won. Instead, it had only delayed the inevitable. When the silence broke, the universe would change forever, and no one would laugh again. The stage sat ready, lights dimmed, actors in place. Curtain waited to rise. The reckoning approached, silent, certain, complete. The silence ended without warning on the morning of the 637th day. After the chamber insult, 32 council core systems woke to chaos at exactly the same moment. Every major financial hub froze, credits vanished from accounts in perfect waves. Quadrillions disappeared into streams that looped through human-controlled nodes, then vanished completely. Banks screamed, alarms, power stations flickered, dark military bases lost command links. Admirals reached for comms and found only static. On Krenthar Prime, the orbital shipyards hung like silver jewels above the red planet. Every vessel in dock suddenly ruptured from inside. Precise thermite charges placed years earlier by human repair crews who smiled while they worked. Now hulls split open, atmosphere vented, crews tumbled into space screaming silently. Repair bays exploded in sequence like falling dominoes. The mighty Krenthar fleet reduced to burning scrap in under 90 minutes. Warriors on the surface stared up in shock, their pride shattered with the metal. Vorseth crystal archives on their homeworld glowed with soft inner light for millennia. These spires held every genetic code, every historical record, every memory of their species. Now data worms activated by sleeper agents overwrote everything. Recursive junk flooded the crystal's memories. Dissolved elders clutched their heads screaming as centuries of knowledge turned to noise. Spires cracked under sudden strain, ancient wisdom gone in moments. Vorseth young ones who had never known fear now wept. Confusion. Illyrian telepathic hubs scattered across their misty worlds went dark. Human operatives triggered localized EMP bursts laced with hallucinogenic aerosols. Millions of linked minds, fractured at once shared dreams, became nightmares. Collective consciousness splintered into screaming fragments. Telepaths clawed at their own thoughts, trying to reconnect, finding only echoes of terror. Some fell into catatonia, others turned violent against their own kind. Harmony shattered like thin glass. Smaller council species felt the ripples. Client worlds lost power supply lines, failed communication. Nets collapsed. Puppet governments panicked as human sleeper cells revealed themselves not with guns, but with quiet sabotage. A human teacher on a backwater moon shut down the planetary governor's security grid. A merchant on a trade hub crashed the local stock exchange. An engineer on an industrial station locked every factory door. No violence, just precision cuts that left entire systems helpless. The council chamber reconvened in emergency session. Delegates arrived, pale, shaken. Vorseth elders flickered weakly. Illyrian bubbles dimmed. Krenthar warlords growled low. Threats they demanded answers, they demanded hum. And surrender they broadcast ultimatums across every frequency demanding Earth kneel or face total annihilation. The chamber filled with angry voices blame flew in every direction, yet no one knew the full scale of what had begun. Then a single transmission arrived from Saul, no fanfare, no demands, just raw footage broadcast on open channels, grainy at first. Then sharpening a human fleet emerged from slipspace shadows. Around the council's neutral meeting station, thousands of sleek black-hulled vessels, silent perfect formation. No bright lights, no heraldry, just cold purpose at the forefront. Floated the indomitable humanity's first true dreadnought, longer than any council battleship hull, scarred from secret tests, engines glowing. Deep violet weapons ports sealed but ready. A voice came over every speaker, calm, almost bored. This is Saul command. You laughed at our dead, you stole our homes, you taxed our blood. Now watch what happens when humans collect what is owed. The transmission cut there, no further words. Needed the footage looped, showing the fleet holding position, unmoving, unstoppable. Panic spread through the chamber. Delegates shouted over each other. Some called for retreat, others demanded counter-attacks. Krenthar warlords slammed fists on tables, vowing vengeance. Vorseth elders tried to link minds for calm, but found only fear. Illyrians projected waves of terror that infected everyone present. The once proud council crumbled into arguing, frightened beings. Outside the station, human ships waited patient as predators' fleets from council worlds rushed to respond. Jump gates lit up with incoming warships, yet as the first squadrons arrived they found nothing but empty space. Then without warning, jump gates themselves turned hostile. Pre-planted charges detonated inside the rings, twisting metal, crumpling frames. Entire fleets vanished mid-transit, swallowed by collapsing wormholes. Others emerged only to meet swarms of human drones, small, fast, hungry. Machines that latched onto hulls burrowed inside 8 critical systems from within. On the Krenthar flagship bridge, the admiral roared orders: fire everything, target the dreadnought. Weapons lit the void beams, lances, missiles, streams of death raced toward the indomitable. Every shot met invisible shields that drank the energy, then reflected it back. Brighter, sharper Krenthar ships exploded in sequence, one after another. The admiral watched his fleet die in minutes, his claws dug into his command chair, drawing blood. Then the human voice returned, calm, polite: surrender now, and live fight and join your ancestors in silence. The admiral spat defiance, his ship turned to ram the dreadnought engines, screaming. Then a single precise beam from the indomitable core punched through the bridge, vaporizing command. In an instant the flagship drifted, dead engines cold. The remaining Krenthar vessels powered down one by one, crews too stunned to resist. Similar scenes played across council space. Human shock troops boarded isolated stations. Zero-gravity marines in adaptive suits moved like shadows. Suits shifted to match any atmosphere, any gravity. They spared crews who dropped weapons, executed officers who resisted. No torture, no cruelty, just efficiency, cold, complete. Vorseth elders broadcast pleas for mercy, their voices trembling. We underestimated you, we see now our error. Please halt this destruction. Humanity answered with silence, no mercy. Yet no genocide, just isolation. Orbital blockades cut food shipments, stopped industry, starved populations. Slowly council homeworlds felt hunger for the first time in memory. Illyrian collective minds tried one final desperate strike. A wave of telepathic force aimed at human fleet minds. Human side dampeners activated, turning the assault inward. Illyrians collapsed, clutching skulls, minds breaking under their own power. The collective scream echoed across their worlds, then faded into quiet sobs. Delegates in the chamber watched hollow feeds of their worlds falling one by one. No glasses, no exterminations, just systematic dismantling of power structures, supply lines, command nodes, economies. Trust everything the council had built over eons taken apart with terrifying precision. A lone human transmission arrived. Final offer: lay down arms, open your worlds to inspection, accept new terms or continue. Until nothing remains, the choice belongs to you. The chamber fell silent. Delegates looked at each other, no laughter, now only fear, raw and deep. Humanity had struck not in blind rage, but in calculated fury. Every move planned, every target chosen, every blow measured. The galaxy watched in horror, as the newcomers they mocked reduced invincible empires to ruins in weeks. The council that once laughed now begged for terms they never thought possible. The Indomitable held position above the station, its shadow long across the orbital platform. The fleet waited patient, ready for whatever came next. Humanity had begun its answer. The galaxy listened now. No one dared interrupt. The first phase of payback unfolded, swift, merciless, precise. The council reeled, shocked, stunned. They had never imagined humans capable of this level of coordination, this depth of preparation, this cold willingness to finish what others started. They never saw it coming, but now they could not look away. Humanity did not destroy worlds or kill billions. That would have been too simple, too loud, too much like the old empires they hated. Instead, they took the council apart piece by piece, with calm, surgical moves. Every action planned, every target chosen, every result measured. The galaxy watched in growing horror, as the newcomers they once mocked turned invincible powers into broken shells. The Indomitable stayed in position above the council station, its black hull blocking stars like an endless night. Smaller human ships spread out in perfect patterns. They seized every major jump gate in council space. One after another, gates that once carried trade and fleets now became traps, pre-planted devices inside the rings activated, twisting the wormholes into kill zones. Incoming council ships arrived only to vanish, swallowed by collapsing space. Others emerged into fields of waiting drones, tiny machines that swarmed hulls, burrowed through armor, consumed engines and weapons from inside ships, died quiet, fast, helpless. Krenthar relief fleets tried to break through to their homeworld. Massive battleships, engines roaring, weapons blazing. Human forces met them with silence at first, then sudden, overwhelming response. Relativistic kill vehicles, launched from hidden positions, accelerated to fractions of light speed. Impactors, no bigger than missiles, punched through shields, armor hulls like needles through cloth. Entire squadrons vanished in flashes of released energy. Debris clouds drifted where proud warships once flew. Krenthar admirals screamed orders that no one heard. Communications jammed by human electronic warfare. On the surface of Krenthar, prime warriors gathered in their ancient fortresses, claws ready for ground invasion that never came. Instead, human drones dropped from orbit, not bombs, but tiny replicators that landed, ate metal, turned it into more drones. Factories shut down, power plants failed, weapon depots crumbled. The planet that once built endless war machines now starved. Its industry warriors watched helplessly as their strength melted away. Vorseth homeworld suffered next. Orbital platforms that held their crystal cities trembled as human charges placed years earlier by maintenance crews detonated in sequence. Seismic waves rippled through the fragile spires. Elders watched in terror as their perfect structures cracked, split, fell. Elders who lived for eons now faced the end of their species' memory, not with fire, but with slow collapse. Human ships blockaded the system. No food, no supplies, no escape, just patient starvation. The crystal beings, who once saw humans as insects, now begged for terms over open channels. Voices, weak, trembling. Illyrian worlds drowned in their own minds after the first telepathic counterstrike failed. Human side dampeners turned every attempt inward. Millions fell silent, catatonic. Others went mad, tearing at each other in shared nightmares. Human agents walked openly, now no longer hiding. They shut down remaining hubs, isolated dream collectives, one by one. The linked minds that once spanned galaxies broke into small, frightened groups. No more harmony, only isolation, fear. Humanity moved to the client species. Next worlds, long crushed under council rule, received quiet offers, freedom, weapons, credits, training in return for loyalty. Human dropships landed in secret, meeting rebel leaders, arming them with modern rifles, shields, drones. Client species, who hated the big three for centuries, now turned on their old masters. Uprisings sparked on dozens of planets. Council garrisons found themselves surrounded, cut off, outgunned. Human advisors stayed in shadows, guiding the fights, never taking center stage. letting the locals claim the victories. Boarding actions became Legend Human Zero. Gravity troops in adaptive suits struck Council. Dreadnoughts without warning suits changed color, shape, density to match any environment. Marines moved in perfect teams. Silent, coordinated, they spared any who surrendered. Officers who resisted died quickly. No torture, no messages, just efficiency. Crews watched in shock as humans cleared deck section by section, leaving living witnesses. To spread the story your leaders failed you, lay down your arms, live. One famous action happened on the Illyrian flagship Harmony of Minds. Human boarders breached the bridge, found the command bubble filled with floating telepaths linked in desperate unity. The humans activated portable dampeners. Minds shattered, screams filled the air. Without sound, the ship powered down, drifting dead. The crew surrendered in waves, no fight left. 18 months after the first strikes, the Council lay in ruins. Homeworlds, isolated industry. Gone fleets, destroyed economies, collapsed puppet governments. Fallen the mighty Vorseth, reduced to scattered. Survivors, the proud Krenthar warriors kneeling in defeat. The once wise Illyrians broken into silent fragments. Smaller species either joined humanity or stayed neutral, watching from the sides. In the rebuilt Council chamber, now orbiting a star under human control, the surviving delegates gathered under heavy guard. No weapons allowed, no escapes possible. Holographic projections showed ruined worlds, starving populations, surrendered fleets. The air felt thick with defeat. Vorseth elders flickered dimly. Illyrian bubbles hung low. Krenthar warlords sat with heads bowed, claws folded. A simple hollow image appeared in the center. Ambassador Alina Voss, older, now face harder, eyes carrying the weight of every decision she made. She looked at the broken leaders without anger, without pity, just calm. Fact, you assumed we were like you, she said, patient, bound by tradition, forgiving. You forgot one thing: humans keep score. When the bill comes due, we collect in full. She paused, letting the words sink in. Humanity does not want your thrones, your tribute, your empires. We want only two things: first, permanent recognition of Saul's sovereignty and unrestricted expansion rights; second, a new charter. Any species may join the reformed council, but aggression against any member triggers automatic total response from the Terran Defense Network. No debate, no vote, immediate action. The delegates stared. No one spoke at first. Then a Vorseth elder raised a trembling limb. We accept. The words came weak but clear. Krenthar warlords nodded slowly. Illyrians projected faint agreement. The chamber recorded the surrender. The galaxy changed in that moment. Voss continued, one last thing: you laughed at our pain. You called us vermin transients. You will never do that again. Any insult, any threat, any move against humanity or our allies meets the same response we showed here. Understand this. We do not conquer, we defend. When pushed, we push back harder than you can imagine. The session ended. Delegates left quietly. No ceremony, no speeches, just quiet acceptance. Humanity had dismantled the old order without becoming the monster they replaced. They kept their word. No genocide, no occupation, only rules enforced by strength. No one doubted the strength anymore. Across known space, species whispered the same truth: humans were not conquerors by nature, but when cornered they became something far worse: accountants of vengeance, precise, unrelenting, cold. The galaxy learned to speak carefully around humans, to respect boundaries, to remember the cost of laughter. Voss stood alone after the session, staring at stars through a viewport. She thought of the nebula, of the lost children of the chamber. Mockery. She felt no joy, only quiet satisfaction. The debt was paid, the lesson taught, the future secured. Humanity moved forward, building, exploring, growing. The council reformed under new rules, smaller, fairer, balanced. The old powers faded into history. New voices rose. Client species stood tall, no longer crushed. Humanity watched from Saul, ready, always ready. The ruthless payback ended not with fire, but with silence. A new silence, one of respect, one of caution, one that would last generations. They never saw it coming, but now they would never forget. In the rebuilt council chamber that now floated in stable orbit around a yellow star, claimed by human command, the air felt heavy with defeat. The once grand hall looked smaller, now stripped of old decorations, replaced with plain functional panels. Simple lights, no crystals, no dream bubbles, no towering thrones, just rows of seats for the survivors. Vorseth elders sat hunched, their facets dull, and cracked Illyrian representatives hovered in faded bubbles, minds quiet and broken. Krenthar warlords occupied the back rows, massive bodies, slumped heads, low claws, resting useless on armrests. Smaller species delegates kept to the edges, eyes wide, watching everything. No one spoke loudly, no one laughed. The room held only whispers and the soft hum of life support. A single hollow projector rose from the center floor. Ambassador Elena Voss appeared, life size, her image clear, sharp. She wore the same dark uniform as before, yet now it carried the weight of command. Her face showed lines carved by months of hard choices. Her eyes held no anger, no triumph, only steady resolve. She looked across the gathered delegates, taking in every bowed head, every trembling form. She spoke first, her voice calm. Even you came here today to sign the new charter. You came because your world starved, because your fleets lie in ruin, because your people finally understand what happens when you push humanity too far. She paused, letting silence fill the space. You laughed at our ambassador. You mocked our dead. You called us vermin, transients, short-lived. You thought we would beg or break or disappear. Instead, we waited, we prepared, we answered. An elder Vorseth lifted a weak limb, his voice thin like wind through broken glass. We acknowledge our error. We accept the terms. Please lift the blockades, let our people eat again. Voss nodded. Once the blockades will end, when the signatures are complete, not before, not 1 second sooner. Food shipments, medical aid, reconstruction teams will follow, but only under human oversight. No more secrets, no more hidden weapons, no more client species crushed under your heels. She turned to the Krenthar warlords. Your warriors fought bravely, yet blindly. You built empires on strength alone, forgetting that true strength includes wisdom. You will keep your homeworld, your culture, your traditions. But never again will you raid border systems. Never again will you demand tribute. Never again will you threaten any species under the new charter. Aggression means automatic response from the Terran Defense Network. No vote, no debate, no mercy. The warlord in front growled low, then stopped himself. He looked up, meeting Voss' gaze for the first time. We yield. The words came hard, forced from deep inside a throat, used to commands, not surrender. Voss shifted her attention to the Illyrians. Your minds once spanned stars, linking billions in perfect harmony. You tried to break us with thought alone. We turned your power against you now. You understand isolation, fear, silence. The new rules protect every mind, every individual. No forced links, no psychic domination. Any violation triggers full response. You will learn to respect boundaries, or lose what little connection remains. An Illyrian bubble pulsed faintly. Acceptance rippled through the remaining minds. No fight left, only tired agreement. Voss continued. Humanity asks for nothing more than what we earned: the right to exist without threat, the right to grow without interference, the right to defend ourselves without apology. Sol system stands sovereign. All human worlds beyond it remain ours. Expansion continues on our terms. Alliances form on mutual respect, not fear. The Council reforms today, not as ruler of galaxies, but as forum for equals. Any species may join, speak, trade, live in peace. Any act of war against a member brings the full weight of human response. Immediate, total, final. Delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some looked relieved, others terrified. The reality sank in slowly. The old order died here in this quiet room, replaced by something new, something enforced by people who once begged for a seat at the table. A lone Vorseth elder dared speak again, his voice barely above whisper. How long did you plan this? How long did you wait, knowing we would betray you? Voss smiled thinly, the first real smile since the chamber insult. Since the day you let us in, we prepared. We always prepare. Humans learn from every mistake, every betrayal, every laugh at our expense. We kept score. We remembered. We waited for the moment you proved us right. That moment came when your ships burned our families, when your voices mocked our pain. The elder lowered his head. No more questions came. The room stayed silent. Voss raised her hand. The hollow charter appeared, glowing text in every known language, clear, simple. 2 demands permanent sovereignty For humanity, automatic defense. Pact for all members, she said, sign now. Or the blockades continue, the silence sent. Wretches, the hunger grows, the isolation deepens, the choice is yours. One by one, they signed. Vorseth crystals dimmed as elders touched the projection. Illyrian bubbles flickered. Agreement. Krenthar. Claws scratched. Acceptance. Smaller delegates hurried forward, eager to secure their place in the new order. The document sealed with quiet finality. No cheers, no ceremony, just the end of one era and the start of another. Voss' image faded. The projector lowered. Delegates rose slowly. Guards escorted them to transports waiting to return them home. No chains, no humiliation, just quiet escort. The message clear: behave or face consequences. Across the galaxy, news spread fast. Comms carried the charter text to every world, every station. Every ship species whispered the same words: humans won not by becoming tyrants, but by refusing to break. They enforced rules with strength. No one could match. They changed the game without playing the old one. On Earth, cities lit. Celebrations, quiet ones. Families gathered. Children asked questions. Parents answered carefully. We survived, we fought back, we made sure it never happens again. Pride swelled, not loud but deep, steady. Voss returned to the lunar bunker. She stood on a balcony looking at the blue marble below. Earth turned slow, peaceful. She thought of the nebula of lost lives, of the chamber laughter, of every decision that led here. She felt no joy, only closure. The debt paid, the lesson taught, the future open. Years passed. The reformed council met regularly. New species joined. Voices, once silenced, now spoke freely. Trade flowed stronger. Borders stabilized. Exploration pushed outward. Human ships led the way, not conquering, but charting, building alliances based on respect. Old council powers faded. Vorseth rebuilt slowly, learning humility. Krenthar trained for defense, not conquest. Illyrians rediscovered individual thought, finding new beauty in separate minds. Client worlds grew, tall, no longer dwarfed by giants. Stories spread through space, the tale of humanity's silence. Then fury, the payback, so ruthless, yet so precise. The council that laughed now spoke with caution, respect, fear, mixed with wonder. They tell their young, remember the humans, they keep score. When pushed, they push back harder than stars can burn. In quiet moments, delegates still asked each other the same question: how did we miss it? How did we never see the storm behind the smile? The answer stayed simple: they underestimated humanity. They thought short lives meant weak hearts. They thought quick tempers meant no patience. They thought primitives could not plan. They were wrong. Humanity proved them wrong, not with words, but with actions, not with destruction, but with control, not with hate, but with cold justice. The galaxy learned to walk carefully around Saul, to speak politely to human envoys, to remember the cost of mockery. The ruthless payback shocked the entire Galactic Council. They truly never saw it coming, yet now they saw nothing else. Every star, every treaty, every quiet night carried the echo of that truth: humans, when truly provoked, become the accountants of vengeance, precise, unrelenting, complete. The universe moved forward, changed forever by one species that refused to break, by one people that kept score and collected in full. No one laughed at humanity again.